Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Power of Possibilities podcast with Hank Setala. I'm a CFMW of Access Consciousness, and here with me is Heather MacMillian, a certified facilitator of Access Consciousness. I think, I said it right. I got my acronyms. I'm thinking, wait, did I just call myself a CF? But I did. I did say CFMW.
Are you in the future?
Not, well, who knows what is possible?
Yes. What are the infinite possibilities? And how much fun can we have with this show this morning? Top of the morning.
Yeah. And today's topic, of course, change your thoughts and change your reality. And really, a lot of this kind of bleeds into a little bit about what we talked about yesterday, if you want to go back and catch that in the archive, about how functioning from a conclusion creates like this limitation, and functioning and changing that to be able to function in the space of possibility is really what can start to create and change your reality to be the reality you desire.
Yeah, I was mentioning yesterday and a couple of times recently that one of the tools that I've been playing with is, okay, well, how many conclusions am I actually functioning from here? Like if I was just going to be really vulnerable and honest with myself, okay, how much of this is conclusion? Even when I think I'm asking a question, like you were talking about this yesterday, those questions where it's kind of like, there's a little bit of conclusion in that question.
Or a lot of conclusion in the question.
Yes.
Well, part of it is that our ego and our brain, it only functions from past data. It only knows what has happened. And even when you get this inspiration of a possibility, the ego comes in and starts saying, well, is that really something that is going to turn out well? Why don't you choose this? This, you know what happens. This, we know you survived. And your ego will actually manipulate you, well intended, to create the worst day of your life over and over again because it knows you survived it. And that's the job of the ego. But the ego only functions from past data. And what we're looking to do as an infinite being is start to operate from future possibilities. And that is where your whole world can change, because you're no longer in the definition and in the conclusion of how your life used to show up in the past.
Yeah. And that's where you mentioned the word survival. And what would it be like to get out of survival and into thrival? Into where we're actually asking questions like, what would it take for today to be greater than yesterday? What would it take to have more fun today than yesterday?
And to piggyback on that a bit, another favorite question, I think inspired from Dr. Dain Heer, one of the co-founders of Access Consciousness, is how could I have more of me? How could I
Yeah.
express more of me today than any day before? Because at the end of the day, that truly is the goal, is to have to perceive, know, be, receive, and express your unique voice in this world into the world to create greater possibilities for yourself and all of humanity. Because not only are you stepping into you, you're also starting to function from the kingdom of we. And that recipe is the recipe of how to change the world.
And it is such the recipe for happiness. Like as you're talking, like I can hear this bird outside singing, and you were talking about that before we went live, like the peace and the space of the morning before all the heads are up thinking and concluding. Because
Yeah. Well, and today specifically, at least here in Cleveland, there was this crispness to the morning, like this coolness that happens, and it's just like there's a tangible feeling of it with being able to connect with the earth and with nature in these moments. Because that really is the other thing, is not to forget the earth. Like it's the kingdom of we. Let's not forget the earth with that, because she is really the one that is creating the space for all of us to have this little playground. Oh my goodness, my phone is like going crazy. Hello, entities. Let me just make sure that can't happen again. You know, that's always a fun little thing, like little sprinkles of reminders, like, hey, there's all this awesome chaos and potential in the air. But anyway, kingdom of we and connecting with the earth. And we talked about it. Was it yesterday with the Wizards of the Earth group, or is that the day before?
the day before, yeah.
So I'll repost it. Like Dr. Dain Heer has a whole group where he calls us Earth Wizards. Like we really are the magic keepers of the earth in a sense. And he has a whole group kind of dedicated for people to step into that earth keeper, that earth wizard energy. I like earth keeper too. Maybe I'll say, hey, Dave, maybe we should change it. Because really we're the ones that are tending and cultivating the earth. And that is the the apparatus that is delivering to us all the ways that we can express ourselves in this reality. It's holding the space for all that to occur. So we definitely want to befriend her. Out of all the entities besides you that you should really get to know and express, it would be your connection and your communion with the earth.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful as you're talking about that, and the beauty of the morning silence, and I can see the trees behind you, the reflection of them, the breeze, the birds. It's really reminding me of the energy of one of my favorite morning tools from Access Consciousness. And I know we've shared it on this show before, but that's the thank you body exercise of just
Oh, it's been a
putting,
while since
yeah,
that tool.
it's been a while. And it's incidentally, June is Body Month and Access Consciousness, and there are a lot of amazing things to check out with regards to nurturing and caring for these beautiful bodies of ours. And really, one exercise you can do in the morning is put your hands on your face or wherever else your body would enjoy being touched, and just taking a moment of gratitude, of thank you, body. Thank you for being here for me. Thank you for all the awareness and contribution you are for me. And what can I contribute to you today? And what contribution can I receive from you today?
Ooh, and that brings me down this other fun little rabbit hole that the body, oh, as we talk about nature too, I have this little bunny rabbit coming to join me from outside. but the body is like the sensory apparatus of your awareness. It is what is pulling in all this data. And one of the things, like if you start having a pain in the body or something's going on, take a moment and acknowledge the body. Thank you for this information.
Yeah,
And a clearing that I really like to run around that is, what are you, the being, unwilling to acknowledge that the body is acknowledging for you? Everything
yeah.
that is to destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, hot, hot, cold, like shorts, boys, and bands. And for those of you who don't know, that's the Access Clearing Statement. You can find out more. There's a link in the description of the video of this broadcast, theclearingstatement.com. But a lot of the things that happen with our body is an awareness or something that we have decided that we can't perceive, know, be, and receive. And so it's dropping to the lower harmonic of feeling, and it's coming into the body, and the
Yeah,
body's acknowledging it. And so that's a huge thing. Like when we say change your thoughts, it's really about what could you be aware of that would change your point of view, that could change your choices with ease, and just start this cataclysmic contagion of consciousness in your world.
yes. Well, and as you're talking to, it reminds me of another tool, and we actually haven't talked about this one in a while either, in terms of thoughts and how much of those thoughts are actually even yours. And
Well,
so many of us are incredibly, incredibly psychic, and we're really aware of, and this is why I love the morning too. I love when we do these live streams, and when I take my own time in the morning to go out in nature, or just to lay in bed and ask some questions before I start the day. There's so much more peace and silence before the heads wake up and there's all this thinking. And the tool that really creates a lot of freedom there from Access Consciousness is, who does this belong to? So if you've got, like yesterday, I was handling some stuff and I got off the phone with this person, and it was just like being in a black hole. And I was like, wow, who does this belong to? And I had to ask it a few times. Who does this belong to? Who does this belong to? Who does this belong to? To really return to that sense of, okay, this is my reality. This is what's true for me. And letting go of everything that I was picking up from other people.
that is so huge. And there's an app actually that you can download on Apple
Yes.
or on Android called Who Does This Belong To? And it actually walks you through how to use that tool. And it sets reminders throughout the day. So it's like, bing, who does this belong to? Because it's one thing when you're doing it consciously, like you're in that moment and Heather knows, well, this isn't mine. But
Yeah.
how many times are we on the autopilot of reality and all these things are impacting us and we're not even being present to ask the question? And that's the purpose of the app, is to send these little reminders, whatever's going on in the moment, in the grocery store, talking to your children, talking on the phone, for that little reminder, like whatever you're experiencing right now, truth, who does this belong to? Is it even yours? And they say like 90 some percent of everything that you experience, that you're aware of, and that you and that you're perceiving in the body or whatnot isn't even yours to begin with, and it can be mitigated simply by the acknowledging, well, this really isn't mine. Return to center with consciousness.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful tool with the body too, because you can ask as you're about to, reach for a snack or something. Okay, well, who does this belong to? Because what if you really are that psychically attuned to the person
Yeah.
who lives, below you and their desire for a snack? So who does this belong to can be an incredible gift to your body as well. And then the more you play with it, if you give yourself 3 whole days actually of for every thought, every feeling, every emotion, every wonky energy that comes up, okay, well, who does this belong to? And if it lightens up at all, it's not yours. Like Hank said, return it to sender with consciousness attached. And it can provide an incredible awareness of how aware you are.
I'm glad you said awareness too, because one of the things they'll say, return to center with consciousness. So it's really important not to zing it back with like a flicking of the middle finger, like, look what you're putting out to the world, a-hole, right? So it's like really important, like you're doing it with this like energy of like, hey, by the way, this is what you're throwing out into the world. It's really like a tap on the shoulder. Here you go, with awareness, not a F you type of energy. And also, it is not relevant for us to know who the who is. Our Western mind loves to know, like, well, whose is it? Like,
Oh yeah,
not just to
totally.
determine is it mine or not, but like, well, whose piece of crap is this? I really want to,
Must
I
be
want to
my
know
neighbor.
who's this screwed up. No, it's not relevant whose it is. The main part of the question is realizing that it's not yours, and then not having a point of view or an attachment to whose it is while you send it back, because that is going to create a little bit of a difference in your world if you're trying to hang on to it a little bit because you want to be detective and figure out more about it. Not your job. Return to sender with consciousness, and who could I choose to be in creationship to this energy that showed up in my world? Because maybe there is a medicine for you in that, or that awareness came to you for a reason that now, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm doing that somewhere in my life. Yeah, that wasn't really nice when I realized what was happening to me. I'm going to start making a different choice around this. So all these are little cues that, yeah, it wasn't yours. Maybe there's some awareness for you to make a different choice and possibility with it, but not relevant whose it was.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, this tool has been such a lifesaver in my own life because I never really acknowledged before I used it for 3 full days, and it's probably about time to use it for another 3 days because so much has changed in the last few weeks. It's like, oh my gosh, who am I, and what grand and glorious adventures am I going to have now? And
Ooh.
it, yeah, playing with this tool for 3 days just gave me so much more of me and an awareness of what's actually true for me. And Hank, you mentioned the word relevant. That's so key, and it's one of the new topics in the recently rewritten Access Foundation class. Is really what's relevant. What's relevant to you, and what would you really like to create, not only as your life but as our world?
And that I had a test of this just yesterday. I was with somebody, kind of like a ceremonial setting, and they wanted to bring through this information. It was kind of like a channeling session, if you will. And
Uh-huh.
all the questions they're asking, I would come back, is that really relevant? And they would sit there for a minute. I'm like, no, it's not. And we would move through question by question. I think out of 20 questions that they asked, one was really relevant to what they were actually there to receive. And all the rest was the Western mind wanting to know what's in the box of crap that you never unpacked since you moved in. And you shouldn't be able to just throw it away, but we want to know, but it's not relevant. And if we really just function from
Yeah.
what's really relevant to what I'm choosing to create in this world and receive, man, what it becomes so much easier because only 1% of the data is really relevant to the choice that you're looking to create.
Yeah. Wow. Truly, truly. And if you were really creating your life today and your future, what would you choose? What would you create? And what would actually be relevant?
And creating from the totality of you, like your total being, and taking the part
Yeah.
of the ego out of the equation. Like, really, what if you're just looking at creating from the space of possibility and not the space of past data? And incidentally, where we get really stuck with thoughts and all these things is our thinking is looking at past choices where we have current data and now judging ourselves based on what we know now, based on what we did then. And that breaking free of that cycle too is such a freeing thing. Like, what would it feel like if you truly created from the totality of yourself, your infinite beingness, and not with the limitations of the past data and judging yourself for them?
Yeah, and as you're talking about that, one of the tools that's been really fundamental for me in breaking free from all of that past stuff and everything that's been kind of distracting me from possibilities and from being me is been access bars. And uh, it's on my mind because I'm sitting in front of a massage table right now because I am facilitating a bars class today in Maryland, and I'm so excited because this tool, it's 32 points on the head that when you lightly touch them, release these thoughts and feelings and emotions, all of this past stuff, all the stuff Hank was talking about, all these reference points and things that we don't even recognize that we're holding on to. And people get off the table from a bar session and they're like, whoa, was the world always this beautiful? Was the world always this hopeful?
Yeah, I've had that experience time and time again. And this month being Body Month, probably in your neck of the woods somewhere, wherever you
Oh,
are in the
yeah.
world, there
Try
is
it
things
out.
called bars clinics and things where you can get like these little body processes run. And
Mhm.
so, if you do a kindness to you, just go on the access site, look in
Yeah.
your area where these things are. And if you're local in Cleveland, we do it on the first Thursday of every month. You can come out and get like a little mini bar session and just get a taste of it. We do all that for donations. So even if you're not in a place where you're financially able to contribute much, it doesn't matter. Everybody can come on bars night and have an experience with the bars and see
Beautiful.
what might it change in your reality. And we really have seen people's lives completely do a 180. They had one thing where they came in because they came in out of spite because their friends just, you know, took off on them again, canceled plans, and they get the email notification, oh, well, I'm going to go try this. And then from that point on, they didn't even hang out with those friends anymore. They were off looking at how they could change the world, and really from a place of an internal drive that they just tapped into them for the first time in a long time. And they were just off and running in a whole different direction in their life. So what if it could, just being able to receive, allow the body to receive, is the key to really starting to step into their potentiality, because we're taught to do it all on our own and not to receive
Yeah.
contribution. What if just training the body to receive was one of the biggest keys in receiving from the totality view, the infinite contributions from the universe around you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And as we say, it's the worst case, you'll feel like you had a great massage. That sense of like, and and it could also change your whole life. So, what are the infinite possibilities and what could all of these tools contribute to you even if you just played with them?
And I know you're a quiet group this morning. I see you watching, but I know everybody's
Yay,
probably
good
in bed
morning.
listening into the phone. They're not really watching; they're just listening. But you are welcome at any time to ask questions. We're about to wrap because we Heather has to do some errands and things, and we always intended this stream to be in the window before I had to wake up my kids. So if you have questions, if you're watching this on the replay, please, especially on the YouTube channel, it's the best place to make comments. It tells Google that we're relevant and it serves it up more organically to people. So the contribution you could be to us is to share from YouTube, share the video, make comments, hit the like button, all that tells the algorithm that is Google, which we should totally befriend. Algorithms are entities too. And like, hey, entity of the algorithm of Google, like how hook us up and allow this to get served up
Share
a little bit
this.
more. But really, you could be the contribution by being the invitation for more people to find the material. So thank you in advance. If this calls to you,
Thank you.
please
Yeah.
invite other people to experience this. And we will be on at least a couple more times this week because we do
I
have
will.
a class coming up next Monday. So just to mention that briefly, if it sings to your
Thank
soul,
you.
mind, we have the How to Become Money workbook coming up starting on Monday. It's going to be a 10-part teleseries, Zoom series. We're going to have it on Zoom, and there's a private Facebook group. But you can find out about that at emergenceofbeing.com/possibility. And it's just really phenomenal. It will be my third time going through it, being facilitated with
Yay.
Heather. And even if you can't make the class, it would be a kindness to you and to your journey to at least get the book and go through it. But being
Yeah.
facilitated through it is a night and day difference. But if you can't make the class, please get the book anyway. And in hindsight, I'll post the link to that book in the comments. And there was one other thing, but I'm trying to remember now what it is. Maybe it went poof. Did it go poof? Must have. Any final thing for you, Heather?
Oh, I'm just so grateful to everyone who watches this show and to you. And yeah, what are the infinite possibilities?
Awesome. Well, until next time, and to find out about the next time, subscribe to the YouTube channel because I will post them there. We do sometimes go to different pages. So if you're watching on Facebook, it may or may not be streamed to where you're watching it next time, but it will always go to the Emergency Being YouTube channel. But until then, we will catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Stay aware.